Have you ever watched a once-treasured fairy tale drift far from its original charm? That's exactly how countless fans feel about Disney's live-action Snow White remake, a project now mired in so many controversies that observers are questioning whether Disney has lost its narrative compass altogether. Since its release in 1937, Snow White has stood as a symbol of innocence and wonder, a breakthrough film that not only launched Disney's feature animation legacy, but also set the tone for countless cinematic fairy tales to follow. Yet the wave of criticism trailing this new adaptation suggests the fairy tale luster might be fading. Disputes over casting, radical story changes, and personal politics have overshadowed what was supposed to be a loving tribute to Walt Disney's first princess. Instead of pure enchantment, the film has become a lightning rod for debates about creative authenticity, evolving social values, and whether a modern twist can ever truly honor its classic origin. For many longtime Disney enthusiasts, it feels like the foundational magic is slipping through the cracks, taking with it the very essence of what made Snow White timeless. Back in 1937, the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was more than just a whimsical tale. It was a pioneering achievement for Walt Disney. He poured every resource into the project, fully aware that many industry insiders scoffed at the idea of a feature-length animated film. The result was a worldwide phenomenon. Viewers were captivated by the gentle princess who triumphed over adversity through kindness and friendship. Parents and children alike flocked to theaters, mesmerized by the breathtaking animation and charming musical numbers. Snow White set the gold standard for family entertainment and anchored Disney as a powerhouse of heartfelt storytelling for decades to come. That enduring appeal is precisely why fans guard the classic so fiercely. They treasured its innocent heroine, whimsical dwarfs, and memorable songs, believing any remake should preserve the film's gentle spirit. So, when rumors spread that Disney intended to reshape core elements of the story, unease and speculation grew. Many wondered if modernization would enrich Snow White's legacy or overshadow the purity that first endeared her to audiences around the globe. When Rachel Ziegler was announced as the new Snow White, many fans were cautiously optimistic. She had dazzled audiences in a high-profile musical film, demonstrating both vocal prowess and a sincere on-screen presence. But the sentiment shifted dramatically when she referred to the 1937 original as dated and creepy, remarks seen by some as dismissive of a cherished classic. Those who'd grown up humming "Someday My Prince Will Come" felt blindsided, wondering why the new lead seemed to disdain the very story that had enchanted generations.
I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Adding to the intrigue, Gal Gadot stepped in as the evil queen. Known for her strong roles and global appeal, Gadot brought a certain star power to the film, sparking curiosity about how she'd interpret one of Disney's most iconic villains. Yet rumors of tension began circulating, suggesting that Gadot's polished professionalism clashed with Ziegler's more outspoken style. Meanwhile, fans dissected every interview and social media post, hunting for hints of a frayed relationship.
Is that over?
This is Rachel Ziegler. Her incredibly off-putting personality is not the only thing you will get out of Rachel Ziegler while talking to her. She will remind you that she hates Snow White.
Instead of building excitement for a riveting hero-villain dynamic, these casting woes fueled doubts about the production's stability, and by extension, its dedication to honoring the essence of Snow White. Arguably, the most polarizing decision was the overhaul of the Seven Dwarfs. In the original, each dwarf boasted a distinct personality, delighting viewers with their wit, quirks, and camaraderie. They were more than comedic relief. They symbolized the unbreakable bond of true friendship. Yet actor Peter Dinklage labeled their portrayal backward, prompting Disney to reimagine these characters as CGI magical creatures.
Seven dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
This pivot was intended to avoid outdated stereotypes, but it also angered segments of the audience who felt a crucial part of Snow White's emotional core was being erased. Those who championed inclusivity had mixed reactions. Some praised the studio for addressing sensitive portrayals, while others lamented the removal of roles that could have been played by actors with dwarfism. The leaked set photos, featuring a motley crew of tall and short performers in fantastical outfits, only increased confusion. Rather than clarifying Disney's new vision, the images stirred debate over whether the film was forging an exciting new path or carelessly discarding beloved tradition. What started as a well-intentioned effort to modernize ended up stoking broader anxieties about how much a classic can change before it ceases to be itself. The controversies erupted into full public view when the teaser trailer dropped. Almost immediately, the dislike counter skyrocketed, far outpacing any supportive responses. Critics pounced on what they perceived as bland, soulless CGI and a gloomy color palette that seemed at odds with the story's fairy tale roots. Many complained that the trailer lacked the enchantment and warmth one expects from a Disney princess film, likening its tone to a more generic fantasy epic than a beloved children's classic. One rumored snippet showed Snow White lecturing her companions on household chores, a stark contrast to the gentle caretaker audiences remember. Fans wondered if the remake was trying too hard to fix perceived flaws in the original, stripping away the innocence that made Snow White so appealing.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. And she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Instead of showcasing a kind-hearted princess who found refuge with her dwarf friends, the sneak peek hinted at a more abrasive character who some said felt distant from Disney's original portrayal. Amid the wave of backlash, even podcasting giant Joe Rogan chimed in, highlighting just how far-reaching this controversy had become. Rogan, known for tackling hot-button topics on his massively popular show, openly criticized Disney's approach to the remake. In his typically straightforward manner, Rogan accused the studio of prioritizing social messaging over compelling storytelling, arguing the film exemplified Hollywood's habit of mishandling classic tales in pursuit of modern relevance. His comments quickly went viral, fueling even more spirited debates online, and amplifying the already intense public scrutiny of the film. Stories of potential discord within the production soon overshadowed any excitement about the film's release. Whispers circulated about on-set friction, fueled by rumors that Ziegler and Gadot clashed both politically and personally. With interview snippets dissected for veiled insults or conflicting worldviews, the film became fodder for tabloids more interested in drama than artistic endeavor. Media outlets latched onto every perceived slight, amplifying the notion that the real action was happening behind the camera rather than in front of it. Meanwhile, Disney's public relations strategy offered little reassurance. Statements meant to soothe fan anxieties came off as non-committal, and official updates focused more on damage control than celebrating creative breakthroughs. This muddled approach left many questioning whether the studio had faith in its own remake or simply hoped to ride out the controversy until opening weekend. The more the spotlight fell on rumored feuds, the less fans seemed to hear about how the film would enrich Snow White's legacy. Snow White's troubles epitomize a wider complaint about Disney's recent direction. Critics argue that the studio leans too heavily on established brands while neglecting the careful storytelling that once set Disney apart. From rushed Marvel sequels to polarizing Star Wars installments, detractors say Disney has placed corporate interests over the meticulous creation of memorable narratives. The repeated reimagining of animated classics falls squarely into that debate, as fans ask whether beloved tales are now simply vehicles for box office gains, overshadowed by attempts to shoehorn modern commentary into timeless plots. Many viewers embrace progressive updates. They want strong female characters, dynamic cultural perspectives, and thoughtful representation. But the key lies in retaining the essence that made these stories resonate in the first place. For some, the Snow White remake feels like a cautionary tale in how not to handle a classic. Instead of gently evolving the narrative, the film appears to bulldoze long-adored elements, alienating those who cherished the original's softer approach. In their eyes, this is less about progress and more about discarding the features that defined Disney's golden age of animation. With its release looming, the question remains, can Disney salvage any of that original wonder and charm? The studio built its reputation on weaving timeless tales that offered escape and hope in equal measure. Now, it stands at a crossroads. If the film manages to reconcile modern sensibilities with heartfelt storytelling, perhaps it can remind audiences why Snow White was such a phenomenon in the first place. Yet if it merely doubles down on controversy and heavy-handed revisions, it risks becoming a cautionary footnote in Disney's lengthy legacy. None of this is to say that fairy tales should remain static. They can, and often do, adapt to reflect shifting cultural norms. But there's a delicate balance in updating a story without sacrificing its universal heart. What began as a promise to reinvigorate a classic for new generations has devolved into a swirl of online backlash, behind-the-scenes rumors, and a pervasive sense that the studio might have lost faith in its own creation. Those who once looked to Disney for escapism and wonder now question if the company truly understands the power of its own history. Ultimately, Snow White's journey from a 1937 breakthrough to a 2020s lightning rod symbolizes more than just one film's struggle. It's a reflection of a media landscape where iconic stories are dissected, rebranded, and sometimes rebuilt from the ground up, all in the name of staying relevant. Whether this attempt will flourish or flounder remains to be seen. Should it fail, it might confirm suspicions that Disney's golden touch has tarnished. Should it succeed, it could herald a new era of updating classics with care. Either way, fans will be watching closely, keen to see if that first princess can still awaken a spark of enchantment, or if this remake marks the end of a once magical reign.